What's up, guys? If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath and you're stumbling upon these videos because you've been looking up the whole love bombing, idealization phase that they talk about when you're dating someone with narcissistic personality disorder, this video might be for you, so stick around. I'm going to be covering a lot of things today. My name is Kita. This is Psychopath Exposure, and I want to talk about the love bombing stage. I want to talk about the idealization phase that takes place when you meet somebody that seems to be overly excited about the possibility of getting into a relationship with you. If we're talking about narcissists and you've done your research on the topic, then you may have already noticed that this is a pattern. This is a pattern amongst not just the whole narcissist thing, but also borderline personality disorder has similar traits like that. You might even hear somebody that's histrionic that goes through something like that. Sociopaths, psychopaths too, they tend to get really, really excited about their new supply. That's that buzzword that you hear. The new supply, narcissists tend to treat people like sources of supply as opposed to human connection. So when they're grooming someone, that's also a common word that you might hear when looking up the love bombing and idealization phase. It's the grooming stage. Okay? In the grooming stage, well, the word pretty much tells you what it is. The predator, in this case, the narcissist or the psychopath, is grooming their new target. They're grooming their new source of supply or their future supply. So let's go back and let's analyze the way our relationship went, because we all went through our own experiences, but they're very similar. Only the names and the faces were changed or swapped out. But you do remember at the beginning when you met the narcissist, you do remember how excited they were to call you all the time, to text you all the time. Remember those good morning texts that you started getting immediately upon hooking up with them? And the good night texts that you used to get? And all the emojis that would put on those texts? All the compliments? All the future plans that they would make with you about the future? All the things that they told you that you pretty much wanted to hear. You wanted to hear those things. Who doesn't want to hear those things, right? And, we call it grooming because of what happens next. You get groomed, then you get attached. You fall in love. You become dependent on these toxic individuals. And then just like that, they'll flip a switch and they're no longer that excited about you or about the possibility of spending the rest of their life with you. And whatever it was that they used to love about you, now they don't like anymore. In some cases, they despise it. In some cases, you're the worst thing to walk the face of the planet. When just a few months ago, they used to worship the floor that you would walk on. Now, the reason I wanted to make this video, I want to go a little bit deeper, because the idealization works both ways too. And I've noticed that over the years, I've been working with a lot of survivors of narcissistic abuse, a lot of survivors that come to YouTube or have been turning to social media as this topic has grown in so much popularity lately. And what I've noticed over time is that people that have come out of a marriage or come out of a long-term relationship, and that's right, older people, and I don't mean necessarily by an age. I'm not talking about a high school relationship. I'm not talking about your high school sweetheart. I'm not talking about someone you met at university. Even though, especially now with the rise of narcissism, this happens too. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But I'm talking about those who have already been in a long-term relationship with somebody. Maybe a toxic relationship. Maybe a marriage that was really, really abusive. And you got out of that marriage or you got out of that relationship. Maybe you were hooked up with an addict. Okay? Maybe you were hooked up with a drug addict or an alcoholic or just someone that was very, very controlling or just someone that you were simply not compatible with. Maybe you were in a sexless marriage. I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot from men, believe it or not. A lot of men that have been in sexless marriages. And then they get out. Finally, they're out of that and they meet a girl that's much younger than them, okay? Much prettier than their ex-wife. And they're head over heels. And they fall in love within a week, within 2 weeks, right? And of course, assuming that girl or that woman is a narcissist, because that's why they call me to talk about how they met a narcissist. And I listen to their story. And yeah, I hear the narcissistic traits from the qualifier. And we go through that and we work through it. And I explain how it works and what they're feeling, yada, yada, yada. But you know what I also notice? And these are the patterns that I notice with victims of narcissistic abuse at a later age. Is that they've been so miserable. They've been so deprived of affection. They have been so deprived of true, unconditional love that when they meet one of these disordered individuals, when they meet a narcissist, when they meet a borderline, like imagine you've been deprived so long of the very thing that these predators offer you in abundance at the very beginning of that entanglement. You will have probably the best sex you've ever had, and you will have it often, and you will do things that were your biggest fantasies, and you're doing it with someone new, sometimes someone younger, sometimes someone more attractive, right? Someone that has more things in common with you than your ex did. And you're like, this is my soulmate. I finally met now I understand why I had to get out of that situation, because this person was the one that was waiting for me on the other side. And what's frustrating about that is because a lot of times in life, you're in a tough spot and you finally develop the courage to get out. And like they say, God had a bigger plan for you, and something good is waiting for you on the other side. But when you get entangled with a narcissist, you've been tricked. They use that very same concept to trick you. And you will believe that they're your soulmates. You will believe that. You will create stories. You'll tell everybody about it. And the narcissist is going to play that narrative with you. Because you see, at the time, the narcissist also believes those things. The narcissist has a history of failed relationships. All right? And the narcissist always blames their ex. The narcissist never takes accountability. The narcissist never says, hey, you know what? I was young. I was just in my party phase. I just wanted to party and drink and have experiences, and I wasn't ready to be in a relationship, but I did. No, they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to tell you that all their exes were monsters, all of them. They're not going to look at themselves, because narcissists don't have any agency or accountability. They don't have the ability to self-reflect. We're talking about full-fledged psychopaths, full-fledged people with NPD. We're not talking about the new mainstream social media narcissists that everyone just tosses around that word and label. We're talking about the real deal. The real deal. And if you resonate with the videos that I make on this channel, it is the real deal that we're talking about. How it warps your psyche, the trauma that you experience in such a short amount of time of dating these people. It's hard to fathom. A lot of times you were in a 20-year marriage and it sucked the life out of you. But did it really? Compared to this, did it really? Nay. It didn't. Because you were able to move on from that marriage or that long-term relationship. And a lot of times you're in good terms with the person. Not saying that you guys go out to dinner every month and stay in touch like that, but they're not your enemy. They're not the devil, right? But just 3 weeks into a relationship with a psychopath or a narcissist is enough to permanently damage you for life. It's enough to permanently alter your nervous system, to create an anxiety disorder. It's enough for you to experience a real panic attack. And to go on ruminating and obsessively thinking about that person long after they're gone. This is not something you went through in your previous relationship unless you guys were also dating psychopaths and narcissists before that. But I know in my situation, I was not with a narcissist. I didn't even know what that was until I experienced a full-fledged psychopath. And I started learning about this stuff, and my mentor showed me everything I needed to learn. Before that, this wasn't even the case. And I can look back now, as we all do, at our previous relationships, and it's like, no. I'm not going back now, oh, was she a narcissist too? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I can talk really good things about my exes. Things didn't work out. They had their thing, and I had my thing, and those two things were not compatible long term. They were compatible in the short term. Maybe they weren't compatible at all. But it was what it was. And the majority of it was good. And sometimes things are not supposed to be forever. Not even sometimes, a lot of times actually. Things have an expiration date. And there's a lot of relationships that seem good in the moment, but they have an expiration date. Sometimes people just want to go off to college. I dated this really beautiful girl for a very short time. And we had a great time during that short time. And she had a good family. They had a lot of money too. would have been really good for both of us, right? To combine incomes and build, right? But she went off to college, and I wasn't ready for a long-term relationship. I don't believe in those things. And the minute she went off to college, and it was to get her master's, by the way. It was just going to be 1 year, but we didn't have a foundation long enough to say, hey, cool, you're going to go do that. Right? Maybe I'll come up there and stay with you for like a month at a time and come back and work something out. No, we didn't. The minute she got there, she started partying and drinking, and she would call me drunk. And I was like, I can't deal with this right now, you know? And I don't hey, Belle, shut up. I don't encourage people to be in long-term relationships because they don't work. Now, if you have families already, you already have kids, and it's, you have to take this business contract, and it's going to be 6 months. It might be a year. You might be able to work it out if your kids are old enough. I don't know. Every situation is different. Everyone has a different tolerance, right? There's a different amount of a pay grade, right? Sometimes you can take a private jet and fly off and be there with your partner and maybe work remote, and it works out, and it's cool. Look, there's so many different ways. But we're talking about like the basic foundation. And sometimes it's like, hey, look, this sucks. This is not going to work. I remember dating someone that was here on a visa. Visa expires. What are you going to do? You can't get another one now. That work visa expired. We understood from the beginning this is how it's going to be. And it's going to come to an end. And when that end comes, we're both going to be sad. And we're both going to be sadder, right? Sadder. Is that even a thing? Because you kind of want what you can't have. So just knowing that you can't do this because of circumstances outside of your control makes you want it more. But if you're a grown adult, right, and you can see that it's a delusion to think that you're just gonna be dating someone that lives in another country, and they can't even come back to your country, and going over there is just gonna be a short thing, and it's one of those things that you meet the right person at the wrong time, or maybe at the right time, but the logistics are different. There's still somebody that I met that, I'm always going to wonder, damn, what could have been? What could have been? Because she was pretty awesome. And I couldn't meet her in real life. And I wanted to. But she had her logical brain working in order, I guess, and she was like, "This is probably a bad idea if we do, because what are we gonna do, right?" And it's just something I didn't like it. I didn't like it, But you look back now, and it's like, damn, you know. I wonder. But I digress. We go back to love bombing, idealization, grooming. We idealize people when we come out of a bad situation. We idealize jobs. You get out of a bad job and you're offered a better job, and all of a sudden, all your brain can see are the good things, right? The reticular activation system of your brain, the RAS. It's a selective focus that only sees the good things. So you meet a toxic person at the beginning, like a narcissist. Both of your brains are hyper focused on the good things. Both of your brains are comparing that person to the ex. Both of your brains are looking to see if this is going to work long term, and you're overly invested in it because it's a good thing, right? So it's kind of like a reverse idealization. I'm not going to say reverse grooming, but I'm going to say reverse idealization. And you both love bomb each other. Except when you do it, there's no hidden agenda. You're not trying to entrap that person. You're not trying to get that person hooked on you so that you can control them. You legit are so happy to finally connect with somebody that builds on those brain cells of joy that have been starved for such a long time. Starved. And you're excited and you're genuinely happy. And like I tell a lot of survivors in my coaching program, you have to rewire your brain from darkness and defeat and trauma to shift the other direction, like a sunflower that starts pointing at the sun. And you have to look for opportunities of joy and success and well-being more than, oh, my past I have a dark past and I have all this trauma and my relationship with my parents was really bad. You don't understand, like everything I ever try is bad and it doesn't work out and everybody I meet. No. If you keep doing that, you're going to keep seeing that. You're going to keep validating that. It's like a confirmation bias. You need to rewire your brain to start looking at all the good stuff that happened in your life and all the good stuff, the infinite amount of experiences, of positive experiences that you can still have. I can show you how to do that in my coaching program. This is something that not only helps you with your narcissistic entanglement, but it's going to help you out in life altogether. Jobs, careers, exercise, right? Goals that you have, dreams that you have allowed yourself to not even start or not even pursue because you couldn't dream big enough. You couldn't visualize it because you were so hyper-focused on the trauma and the darkness that you gave up. And if you have dated someone or married someone with NPD, with narcissist personality disorder, those dreams were obliterated because that's what the narcissist does, isn't it? That's what they do. They obliterate your dreams. They obliterate your joy. They obliterate your ability to feel good about a future good idea or plans. It tricks your brain, it warps your brain into thinking that it's never going to feel happiness or joy again. Contrast that to the beginning of the entanglement, during the love bombing stage, during the idealization phase, when everything sounded promising and good and exciting, high vibes, telling everybody about it, the gratitude for finally meeting your soulmate, yada, 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 getting out of bed in the morning. You know your phone already has a good morning text. And if it's not there, you send one out. You don't even think twice about it. And within seconds, they fire right back, all excited, ready to make plans with you. Contrast that to how it ended. Because you see, a healthy person And we also toss the word healthy around. A healthy person, doesn't matter if they have trauma or baggage or look, the older you get, the more experiences you've had, the more life experiences you've had. You're not going to meet someone at 30, at 40, at 50 that just has a clean slate. All right? You're not even going to like somebody like that. Imagine meeting someone so prude and so innocent at that age. They're going to be boring. You're going to feel like you're dating your kid. It's like what is that? It's going to be like a mother-daughter, father-son relationship. It's not going to feel like an actual romantic thing. It's going to feel more like you're the parental figure in that dynamic. That's what it's going to feel like. It's not the healthiest thing. Not the healthiest thing, right? But you have to understand that sometimes you're not even dating a narcissist. Sometimes you're dating someone that's highly manipulative. They're user controlling. They've got baggage. They've given up on life. They're out to get everybody because they feel someone's always out to get them. They're not necessarily narcissists. They may be high in Machiavellianism, things like that. I mean, there's all sorts of tests and stuff online that are fun to play with. But whether they're narcissist or whether they're narcissistic, that's not even relevant when it comes to your well-being. You have to understand they've been through their stuff. You've been through your stuff. You're both trying to find the best that you can find at this point in your life, right? The only difference is you genuinely want something good for the long term, and the narcissist has a hidden agenda. And the narcissist, because of their disorder, it doesn't matter how much they love you now or say they love you. It doesn't matter how excited they are to be with you now. It doesn't matter how much they love the sex with you and the intimacy and the affection. It doesn't matter the future plans, all the traveling you guys are going to do, how many kids you're going to have, and how they're going to raise your kids like their own, and all these things that they tell you. Their disorder is ultimately going to lead to their demise. They're going to sabotage the relationship. And some of them even end up in prison. And you think back, how do people end up locked up? Right? A lot of people just do stupid things. And some people just have a disorder and they just can't help it. No matter what they say, no matter what they promise you. No matter what they say. At the end of the day, they manage to self-sabotage and ruin their life. And they ruin the lives of the closest people to them too. So you have to recognize when you find somebody like this, you have to stay as far as possible from them as you can, because they will ruin you. They will ruin you. Believe it or not. I know it sounds great at the beginning, during the love bombing, during the grooming stage. You're both idealized. Can't even say the word anymore. You're both idealizing each other. Sounds great now. Sounds great now. But if you're watching this video, you probably already went through that. Because why would you look up something like this when you're having the time of your life? You're only searching for these videos because you've experienced that and you're trying to get answers. Because you know it doesn't make sense. That's the thing. These things don't make sense. Even when you read about it and you learn and things start to resonate with you, it still doesn't make sense, because it's like, who would do that? Like, why? If you find someone great, right? Why do you want to mess it up? Why would you want to mess it up? And that's the disorder. It's not that they want to mess it up. It's that they can't help but messing it up. It's in their nature, guys. It's in their nature. So if you find yourself idealizing the toxic person, right? And remember, for you guys, it's not just at the beginning. You guys will be with an abusive narcissist for years, and you'll still be idealizing them. By that time, the narcissist already stopped idealizing you long time ago, because that stage does not last very long. But for you, for the victim, you're still idealizing him. And I hear it. I hear when you guys tell me. They're like, Kira, I feel so bad turning my back on him. You feel bad turning your back on your abuser? Like, you have empathy for the person that put you in this crippled state? Like, that, how does that make sense? It doesn't. But you keep idealizing them. Like I said, the reverse idealization, it's not the narcissist doing it at this point. It's the victim idealizing the narcissist. You still think that there's hope in these people. You still think that, hey, maybe if we go to therapy, right? Maybe if we go to couples therapy, maybe I get them into a program. Maybe we start going to church together. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if we join a swingers club, maybe that'll get the urge out. You guys come up with the craziest excuses, and it always ends bad at the end when you're dealing with these people. All right? So stop doing it to yourself. Get a grip, okay? And find the courage to get the heck out of these toxic entanglements. And if you would like to learn more about the idealization phase, about the love bombing and the grooming stage, click right here. I made a video a very long time ago in detail about what happens during that pink cloud time of your life. And if you would like to learn more about narcissist personality disorder, click right here and check this one out.